Happy February and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. We are in month 2 of 2020. Lots of twos. Yesterday was 2-2-2-0. February is the second month. You get the idea. We hope we're still number 1 in your hearts. And there's 3 of us here. I am Illeagle 86, and I have, of course, joined by my good friend, Mr. Techtic.
Heyo.
And Miss Nerdbomber.
Happy Cupid month, everybody.
Soon to be Mrs. Nerdbomber.
Would
you like me to call you Mrs. Nerdbomber? What isn't the trendy thing Ms? So like it's ambiguous.
Wouldn't I technically be Mrs. Techtic then?
No, you'd be Tech Chick. We went over this.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we did go over this. Shoot. And now, was that public yet? Did I just...
That was public.
Ruin the big reveal? Okay, good. Valentine's Day is coming up. That's a good point. Happy early Valentine's Day. I'm sure we'll talk about that next week because next week it still won't be Valentine's Day. Do you guys have your dinner reservations yet?
Oh, you bet. One of the best steak places in town.
Same here. Not the same place. That'd be weird. But I have my dinner reservations made. This is a public service announcement to all the people in relationships out there. Make your dinner reservations. It's just a smart thing to do. It gives you something to look forward to. And you get to eat good food and celebrate your romance. And you know what? If you're single, go out to a restaurant anyways. Have a great time.
Hashtag treat yourself.
Hashtag treat yourself. Speaking of treat yourself, we're going to be treating you all with, of course, a lively discussion of all things Super Bowl, since the Super Bowl was this past Sunday. We're talking about the commercials. But first, we're going to be taking you back to the elementary school cafeteria, at least if you're me. That's where I most frequently saw them. In the 1990s. Do y'all remember Dunkaroos?
You bet I remember Dunkaroos. One of the best snacks. I mean, would they be a snack or a dessert?
So, I think they're a dessert. Techtic immediately disagrees with this whole line of questioning, it seems like. He doesn't... Techtic's anti-Dunkaroo. We've established that before coming on the air, but I want him to publicly state that for everyone.
I am anti-Dunkaroo. There's way better snacks out there, and
So it's a snack.
It's just icing. Like, it's not that great.
Okay, but I feel like you had a circular argument there. You said it's not that great, and then you said it's just icing.
Like, keep in mind what we were eating in the 90s. We had fruit roll-ups, fruit by the foot. These are all like totally sugar
great.
Things. I mean, we
great.
had Dunkaroos, totally sugar. We pounded Oreos like nobody's business, completely sugar.
do that.
If you want to talk about greatest snack ever, I'm telling you, Cosmic Brownies, and that's why they still going strong.
I mean, it's true. Cosmic Brownies are dope, but Dunkaroos were also great. I don't understand why they're mutually exclusive.
Do you know why Cosmic Brownies are still going on? It's because they still have some left over from the first time they made Cosmic Brownies, and they're still good. Like, if you took a Cosmic Brownie right now, full disclosure, I love Cosmic Brownies. They're amazing. If you threw one at a window, the window would break, which I think is a mark of a good snack, but at the same time, what is in those
they're
things?
super moist. They melt in your
They're
mouth.
moist, but they're dense. They're heavy.
Like
I love
any
a
good
Cosmic
brownie would be.
I feel like we could dive more into that, but that's not what this is supposed to be about. One of these episodes or some secret segment or something, we should have like a snack bracket where we like talk about, because my personal favorite, I think, is fruit by the foot from like back in the day. That was like the big treat that my mom would get me at the grocery store if I was a good boy, you know. But I think Dunkaroos would be like, at least be top 5. And I never got them. My mom was anti-Dunkaroo. She was like, she thought the way that you were thinking, Techtic, which is it's just all sugar. It's going to rot your brain.
But yet I bet she handed you pouches of Capri Sun every day.
No, she actually didn't. We only had Capri Suns when we got them with Lunchables, which I still eat Lunchables. I'm not going to apologize for it. No, yeah, I was never a big Capri Sun kid. But in the lunchroom, to go back to my original point, in the elementary school lunchroom, I knew kids who had Dunkaroos, and there was just this insane jealousy associated with it.
You didn't have the hustle going? That's how I got all my Cosmic Brownies. I was wheeling and dealing.
There was trading, sure, but I wasn't like exercising the art of the swap. Like, I wasn't like turning like a single potato chip into like a whole meal. I've never had that kind of flair for negotiation.
I feel like I never had stuff that was good enough to trade for like the high quality sugar foods. And if I did have that kind of stuff, then it was the high quality sugar foods, and my mom like caved. So then I just ate it. Like, why would I trade that?
Yeah. My mom, you know, I want to say publicly because my mom, she doesn't listen to the show, but if she ever did, Mom, you made some great school lunches. Thank you for that. We're bringing this up, though. The whole reason we're not just bringing up Dunkaroos to talk about them, as fun as that would be. Guys, they're coming back. This has officially been announced today, the day that we're recording, February 3rd. They have an official Twitter, which I guess, why wouldn't they? And the tweet is, and I quote, "definitely coming back, summer 2020, and there's like a video posted along with that tweet. I'm not gonna watch it now, but it's a guy with like frosted tips. It's clearly it's like an old commercial from the 90s, and this is a huge deal. So I'm gonna read another. This is a quote from the president of snacks at General Mills, which what a fun job that would be. For those who grew up in the 90s, the original cookie frosted combo represents the taste, color, and fun of being a kid during that decade. They teased the comeback when apparently this Instagram and Twitter account was created in January, and people immediately were like, oh my God, this is like a huge deal. I'm excited for this. I mean, even for someone who didn't eat them regularly, it's a huge deal. I think it's going to experience a resurgence. I mean, if I see them in the stores, I'll buy some just for nostalgia's sake. The one thing I do want to note, though, as far as based on what I'm seeing right now of like what it looks like the packaging is going to be in the format. They used to be shaped like kangaroos, right? The cookies?
100%, yeah. They were kangaroos.
See, apparently that's not the case anymore. All I'm seeing here are they look like coins. Cookie coins that you dip into. The frosting looks the same. Frosting, you got that.
The name Dunkaroos doesn't mean anything. If they're not a kangaroo, then how can it be a Dunkaroo?
It can be a Dunkaroo in our hearts, I think.
Dunkaroos, we want answers.
They're taking advantage of the fact that we love Dunkaroos, and they're gonna take that brand. And I mean, again, it looks like the frosting, again, based on the scant social media posts that we can see, it's got the multicolored pieces, kind of like funfetti looking stuff. So, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty much the same. It's just, I don't know why, what could they not get the rights to kangaroo shapes? I don't understand. I don't know why it's not keeping the kangaroo shape. Maybe they just figured it's less expensive to just make a generically round thing with a D on it.
I mean, kangaroo or not, I'm pretty excited that they're coming back. I do have two major questions, though. So the first one is that I was reading an article about the return of the Dunkaroo, and apparently these have still existed in Canada for the last handful or more of years. So my first question is, Canada, why are you holding out on us like this? Because my life has been Dunkaroo-less, and you've been hoarding them all. My second question
Canada move.
is, do you think this will be a permanent fixture in the supermarket? Or do you think it's going to be a limited time thing? And if so, well, obviously Techtic won't be planning on it, but this is more for Illeagle then. Would you be planning to stock up on Dunkaroos?
Boy, see, I would liken this to, so I mentioned fruit by the foot as like my favorite childhood snack. I will still buy fruit by the foots every now and again, but that's just it. I'll buy them every now and again. I'm not going to keep fruit by the foot afloat if no one else buys them. The same would be true of Dunkaroos. I would buy them once in a while when I was like, you know, you go to the dollar store. I have a dollar store right across the street from where I live, which is, by the way, the most convenient thing in the world. So when I have the munchies, I'll go over there and I'll just kind of like stroll the aisles waiting for something to call to me. And Dunkaroos are the kind of thing that would definitely call to me once in a while.
So like if it's a limited time thing, you don't see yourself running out there and buying like 20 boxes of Dunkaroos to last for all of time?
I could tell you 100% that will happen to some people. This reminds me of the great Twinkie shortage of 2013.
Or the firework Oreo shortage of last year, which luckily we had stocked up a little bit of firework Oreos, so we were set.
We were eating Oreos in the winter.
The closest that I've come to doing that kind of thing is... So, okay, have you ever had the cereal Trix with the rabbit?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Know what I'm talking about. Now, when you were a kid and you had Trix, what do you remember about them? Did you like them, first of all?
Yeah, they were good. And they
were good.
They had the different shaped, like, fruity things, right?
Exactly. They had the different shaped fruity things, and it was my favorite cereal when I was a kid. I loved it so much. And then one day, some idiot, I don't know who it was, someone higher up who was trying to save a buck, then that might also be General Mills, was like, stop making the shapes. Just turn them into balls like every other stupid cereal. And something interesting happened. They probably changed the formula from the two because then the taste got worse. And I stopped getting them. And then when I had my own buying power and I was like in college, I didn't buy Trix because I was like, they ruined Trix for me. But like, I think a year or two, like 1 or 2 years ago, very recently, they brought back the fruit shapes, and it was a big deal. And that was the closest I ever came to being like, well, if they take this away again, maybe I should like buy a bunch of boxes of this because it's amazing. I still buy it much more regularly now.
Do you remember when Trix even was a yogurt?
Trix had the yogurt. Yeah. That's right. I'm not a big yogurt guy, but I think people liked the Trix yogurt. I don't know what happened to that.
It was good. It was like multicolor yogurt. It looked funky. Made me eat it. Because
when we think about things like the Dunkaroos idea of like bringing back Dunkaroos, and it's going to, you know, there's going to be this nostalgia factor that's going to propel it into like fiscally smart food making. You have to ask the question of like, we're talking about Dunkaroos, like how great they were, but they they went belly up at one point. They stopped making them. Why? Like,
what if it was all the kangaroo shape?
It might have been like are kangaroos? They're not endangered species, are they? Or were they at some point?
No, it's just hard to hold the shape of the cookie. They come broken and they get complaints and.
Oh, give me a break! You think that's why?
I mean, the Keebler Elf manages to do it. They have those. What are those? The fudge.
EL fudge.
Yeah, the EL fudge cookies, and they manage to hold their shape just fine.
So is that why you don't like them, Techtic?
No, I'm not a fan of a ton of icing for no reason.
Oh, there's a reason. The kangaroo has to take a dunk in the icing to cool off on like a hot Australian summer day, you know? I would do an Australian accent when I was eating Dunkaroos. And I was a kid, so it sucked. But
so we have some Australian listeners, and I posit a question to you guys. You can answer us on like Twitter or something. Did you guys have Dunkaroos? And like, so for us, deer are all over the place, and it's just kind of like, deer, unless it's Christmas time. Like, were Dunkaroos a big thing for you, or was it just like, oh, kangaroos? Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering, was the kangaroo shape the thing that was too expensive that they were like, we gotta stop making Dunkaroos? Or were there a lot of people out there like Techtic who just don't actually like them because there's too much icing involved? I don't know. It's interesting. I think think about the Nutella craze, which is now like going away. But Nutella is basically sugar, right? It's almost icing. It's just chocolate. I know it's hazelnut spread, whatever, but it's you're dipping stuff in chocolate. That's the whole premise behind it. Are we not kind of doing the same thing here?
I'm just not a big dunker. I like to shovel directly into mouth. It's really the extra steps that dissuade me, like those cheese dip sticks things.
I was about to ask you about these.
So I used to like those as a kid, but in retrospect, that cheese was kind of suspect.
It was gross.
Saying.
Oh yeah, that's cheese product right there. First of all, I liked the cheese sticks as a kid. I haven't had one in a long time.
See, like Gushers were something you could just throw back.
I love a Gusher. I ate Gushers like less than 2 weeks ago. And again, I'm proud of that. I there's something about Gushers that are so satisfying, and also like I'm at an age where when I'm eating them, I know how wrong it is, and I just don't care. That's almost like adds to the joy for me.
My entire life, eating for me has been more of a let me see if I can get this done as fast as I can get this done, and then I could start talking without breathing again.
Why don't you enjoy like I'm a slow eater.
I've been.
Why don't you savor it? You're missing out on so many good flavors.
I just black out usually. That's how it goes. So
the
extra dip step was like asking too much.
I mean, but you're a kid in a lunchroom.
If you get me a Dunkaroo flavored Oreo, I'm in. But
I can understand but Oreos. First of all, you keep bringing up Oreos. That I rarely, if ever, will eat Oreos without dunking them.
That's
because they're
blasphemy.
Better that way.
You just the proper way to eat an Oreo.
Just throw it back.
No, this is no debate. I have the proper way to eat an Oreo. You twist it apart, then you lick the icing off the one cookie, and then you eat the two cookies. That's the proper way to eat an Oreo.
I've done it that way. Don't get me wrong. If I'm gonna eat them dry, that's the way I'm gonna eat them. But if I'm gonna if I have the time and the wherewithal to get a glass of milk, I'm gonna do it.
I literally feel like I'm watching a Tootsie Pop commercial. You guys all know there's 3 bites to the center of the Tootsie Pop. That's it. You're not sitting there licking it all day long.
I mean, I'm dunking. I'm not licking it. I'm just dunking it. It's not a fast process, and it's not a slow process, I should say. And I can understand at the age that we're at now, and with the commitments and the responsibilities of adulthood that we have, that you might not have the time or be in the mental state to sit down, rip open a pack of Dunkaroos, and sit there dunking for however long that takes. But when you're a kid in a lunchroom, what do you have going on?
You're just dunking all day.
The only snack that I ever finagled with was the tattoo.
Oh, the fruit roll-ups? Oh, that was dope.
In hindsight, those were kind of gross. You're sitting there licking your arm, and then you lick.
Dude, you didn't put the tattoo.
Unsanitary at best.
Okay, you guys were definitely doing that wrong. It was a tongue tattoo, first of all. So you had a tattoo and it went on your tongue. You didn't lick your arm and put it on your arm.
But you could.
Think about how unsanitary that is. Oh man.
I'm not thinking about it. I lived it. I mean, I don't know. I understand where you're coming from. Of you're let's just get straight down to business. But I'm starting to doubt personally that you ever tried and experienced Dunkaroos in the proper way. And I say that knowing full well how snobby it sounds. but like, did you just try one of the kangaroos and were like, this is no good? Or did you like take a fingerful of icing and were like, this is just icing? Because it was just icing if you did it that way.
It's basically vanilla icing, and I was always more of a chocolate guy. So that was the first thing. Obviously, the extra work, that's the second thing. And the cookie in itself, just, again, kind of vanilla to me.
It's like anything. The key is the ratio. You have to get the ratio right. That's what I think happened. You didn't get the ratio right. But now you'll have another chance to. That's the good news, is this is coming back, summer 2020. I'm sure Nerdbomber is going to run out and stock up. She's going to be like buying out stores.
I promise I will give it a chance and give you guys an update.
Well,
that should be a secret segment.
Yeah,
or a vlog, something. Just you sitting there eating Dunkaroos. I mean, you'll have all the time in the world. You'll have the length of a vlog, a video vlog, to enjoy these Dunkaroos and give your fully unadulterated thoughts. And I personally can't wait. There is no official date that I can see as far as when these are coming back. It just says summer 2020, but this could be a big deal. They also, for what it's worth, they were discontinued in 2012. So we're acting like they've been gone for like 20 years. Well, they've only been gone for 8 years.
It feels like 20
but it
years.
feels like a long time. Did you ever, okay, so 2012, and last question before I move on, because I know we're taking longer than we thought we would on this, but this is important. This is important content. In 2012, the three of us were in college. That's like a golden age for Dunkaroo eating. Nerdbomber, did you buy Dunkaroos in college? Because I didn't.
Not at all.
I don't remember a time where I did that.
Dude, when I transitioned into college, I was downing Yellow Amp and Doritos. Spicy sweet chili Doritos.
You're forgetting the quintessential snack that we had back in those days.
Cheese puffs?
Hashtag Star Crunch.
Oh yeah, Star Crunch too.
What is Star Crunch?
That is one of the best snack foods.
It can't be, because I've never heard of it.
They're amazing. It's got like Rice Krispies over this like gooey, nuggety center. Super great deliciousness in my belly.
I will have to.
You know what? I'm gonna include a whole palette of different snack foods, and I will rank them.
A whole palette? That's a lot of snacks.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, you just made a promise that we all expect you to keep. So you'll be hearing from us more about Dunkaroos at some point. But suffice to say, we're very excited for the most part, 2 out of 3, that they're coming back. So be on the lookout for that. Speaking of snacks, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, and it seems like this might be a good jumping off point to actually dive into the commercials first. Obviously, a huge component of the big game every year. There's the game itself, and there's the halftime show, but then there's also the commercials, which are these days designed to create these like kind of viral marketing campaign sort of things. And you mentioned Doritos, however long ago. Like
oh yeah, the spicy sweet chili Doritos.
The commercial with we're going to be talking about a bunch of commercials, but it might make sense to lead off with the Sam Elliott dancing mustache commercial. I mean, how about that?
I thought that was actually a really clever commercial, and I know Old Town Road has been super played out at this point, but there was something cool about the whole Old West kind of modern dance-off thing that was happening, but really the star of the entire commercial was Sam Elliott's dancing mustache, and that I found really funny. So that was probably up there in my top 3 commercials, just because, I mean, I have a soft spot for Sam Elliott. My mom's favorite Christmas movie of all time was Prancer, and he's the dad in Prancer. So like right from the ripe old age of not even born yet, my mom was like pumping Sam Elliott into my system. That sounded really wrong. Sorry.
Sounds really unfortunate.
Dunkaroos.
But like, I don't know, he's just like a very classic. I feel like he's always a stoic, serious character in almost everything that I see him in. And to see his little dancing, the dancing mustache, man, was just so kind of out of character, and I loved it. Good stuff.
He's really good in A Star Is Born too. Shout out to Sam Elliott. If you're listening, hit us up on the social meets. So you mentioned you had kind of a top 3. What else was? Let's run through some here. What else tickled your biscuit?
So one of the other ones, I have a huge soft spot, as you guys all know, for animals. So if you guys didn't hear, I think it went viral even before the commercial aired. But the CEO of WeatherTech, took out a commercial basically thanking the veterinary hospital that cured his dog of cancer. And so I was like super anticipating this commercial. It wasn't as touching as I thought it was going to be going in. I mean, obviously they were advertising WeatherTech, and there was a lot more WeatherTech advertisement than I thought, but I still have a huge soft spot for dogs and golden retrievers especially, so that was one of my other favorite commercials. And then the third one on my list was the Little Caesars commercial with Rainn Wilson. And first of all, I do have to note that The Office made a huge comeback in the commercials this year because he was in a commercial, John Krasinski was in a commercial, and Toby, I can't remember Toby's actor's name.
Paul Lieberman.
Thank you.
Paul Lieberman is his name.
He was also
a writer on the show.
But basically, Rainn Wilson was in a Little Caesars commercial trying to figure out like the next big thing, and it ended up being Little Caesars delivery. But more so, I just thought, not the Little Caesars part of the commercial, but just the entire thing was kind of funny. And I like, I like Rainn Wilson. So that was my top 3 of the night.
My favorite, I would have to say, was, and it's funny thinking about all these commercials, how much the commercial is like, it's not about the product at all. Like, my favorite was the Jason Momoa commercial, which was a Rocket Mortgage commercial, which I only know because I just looked the commercial up a little bit ago, where he like takes off all his muscles and like his hair, and it reveals that he's like a really scrawny
he looked kind of
bum looking dude. Yeah, like it doesn't look great, obviously, and I liked it because it was so relatable. At the end of the commercial, he was like trying to lift weights, but it was just the bar, and he was like struggling. And great physical comedy, big fan. Not like there were some my least favorite commercials were the ones. Everyone has a famous spokesperson, but when you throw like 20 famous spokespeople at a commercial, I feel like it gets worse. Like, I think you need one good person. Like, the worst commercial I saw was the commercial for that hotel in Miami that had like, it had J-Lo, A-Rod, DJ Khaled, everybody. It was like a whole bunch of famous people and a lot of people I didn't know, by the way. So I didn't like that one. But my another one of my favorites was the Post Malone Bud Light seltzer commercials. I'm not a big seltzer guy, but I like Post Malone. I don't really listen to his kind of music, but I think he's just a funny guy and an interesting personality. So that whole the whole thing where there are people fighting inside his head. It's a kind of
and the best part,
it's a well-worn
every single one of those people in his head had face tattoos.
Yeah, and the devil's in the details with commercials like that, where like that was like the funniest part of the commercial, and there might have been people that didn't even notice that. So I like that one a lot.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but later on in the game, like in the actual game, you know how they have like that stats? They were there. They had those guys in their outfits with the face tattoos at the game with a Bud Light, and I just thought that was a great touch.
The commercials and we've seen a few of them, especially like last year, the Twilight Zone promo. Like, there's a lot of commercials that are kind of like tricking you into, like, they're either connecting directly to the game, like the NFL commercial where the kid runs in at the end and it's like they actually at the game, and like the Post Malone, like where they kind of actually tie it directly into the game. And like there are commercials that also start thinking like, oh, welcome back, we're at the game, and then something happens and you realize it's a commercial. I think those are pretty clever. The last commercial I want to mention, though, I don't want to say it was one of my favorites because it was really just a downer, but I feel like we need to talk about that Google commercial.
Super
with the
depressing.
Old man trying to remember his wife. Like, as someone who lost multiple relatives to Alzheimer's, man, it hit pretty close to home. And I was like enjoying the game and like having a good time. And then this commercial was like, you're gonna die someday, and before you do, you're not gonna remember anything. And if you tell Google to remember it all for you, she's gonna sell your data to a company.
Yeah, I think so. Like the message of the entire story, like obviously the man losing the memories of his wife, that was depressing in and of itself. But the fact that then either he or his family or Google, without asking, but I'm assuming they must have gotten their buy off, they sold it so that it could be commercialized. Like, that's super depressing.
I don't know if it was a true story, but like, and like it has like an uplifting ending too, where like at the end it's like, Google, remember that Loretta told me to like not be sad and miss her and like get out of the house. And you hear him leaving the house. It's like, okay, he's gonna go on living his life. But it was still just like, and they're playing that Say Something song in the background without words. It was just like calculated for maximal emotional impact. Yeah, like, and I don't know. Some of the commercials are too goofy for me, but some are also too serious, and there's like a sweet spot that you have to get into, and that one wasn't in it. But Techtic, I want some of your. There were so many commercials. We only had time to talk about a few, but what were some of your greatest hits of this year? Okay,
so my top 3, I'm going to phrase it as notable commercials, were as follows. So first off, I'm going to piggyback off what Nerdbomber said with a lot of the Office cast showing up. There was one commercial that I was wildly disappointed that they didn't have any Office cast members show up at all, and that's Kevin. if you guys follow me on the Twitter, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about already.
The Twitter.
And in the Procter and Gamble commercial, the cook comes out with this big bowl of chili and spills it everywhere. They should have had Kevin holding that chili. They should have had him spill it, and he should have been covered in it, and it should have just been this pitiful mess. And that would have made the commercial so much better. But then they kind of brought it together and made it this weird, awkward cleaning party, and that was fine, but totally a missed opportunity, Procter & Gamble. Everyone else was getting The Office cast in it. You should have too.
And everyone loves The Office, yeah.
Everyone loved that
agree.
scene.
Missed opportunity.
It's the most,
it's
insignificant
iconic
part of the actual storyline, but it's so iconic and everyone knows it. It's just a missed opportunity. My absolute favorite one was, of course, the Jeep commercial with Groundhog Day, Bill Murray.
Oh, the Groundhog Day, yeah. Big fan of this one.
We're in a time where cute and fluffy things are all the rage, and so the commercial goes where he wakes up, he goes, oh, criminy, it's Groundhog Day, but then he sees this Jeep, kidnaps the groundhog, and then they just start going on adventures day after day together, and they build this adorable little friendship. He's got a little helmet on, he's in a bike with him, he's watching him play whack-a-mole, and just they have him showing every little expression, and it's just so adorable. I loved what they did with the groundhog. I loved what they did with the bond between him and Bill Murray. Fantastically done. And the last notable one was the Tide commercial. Commercials are great, but they're absolutely phenomenal when they span across multiple commercials. So with this one, Charlie Day was at a party. He spilled some sauce. Well, he got some sauce on his shirt.
Yeah, his girlfriend or wife character spilled sauce on him.
And they kept saying, you'll clean it later. Don't worry, it won't stain permanently. And so he tries to get later, ends up back in time somehow. Then he tries to get later, ends up in the Wonder Woman trailer. Then he tries to get later, he's old, but he still has a dirty shirt, and it's just...
Well, it's so great because of all the crowd. Like you mentioned the Wonder Woman, and when he went back in time, he went back to the Bud Light Dilly Dilly thing.
Yeah,
there's so much crossover, and it must take so much thought to figure out how is this ad going to go. And then you get someone like Charlie Day, who I absolutely love. I was a really big fan of this one too. It's right up there with the Tide Pods commercials from I think it was 2 years ago. It wasn't last year, but they do these commercials, like you said, that are spanning multiple commercials, and it pops up where you don't expect it to, and it's so memorable. So yeah, I was a big fan of that one as well.
So kudos to Tide, kudos to Bud Light, kudos to Wonder Woman. Y'all did a great job together.
And there are a bunch that we didn't mention. So the T-Mobile Anthony Anderson was a great one. Toyota featuring Kobe Smulders. You see so many of these feature crazy pop culture references. Like Walmart had this commercial that had to cost them, not even just for the ad time, but for the licensing, I don't know how much money, but there were Star Wars characters, all kinds of pop culture references. Discover had a similar commercial. So a lot of them seem to go hard in the pop culture and just kind of hope they fill in the blanks along the way. But I think the more interesting ones, the Bill Murray one was great. That was the best, most well done pop culture nostalgia-y one. But the best ones are the ones like the Tide Pod or the Tide commercial that are just super, super inventive and are funny. And like I said, just the goal of these commercials is, at the end of the day, it's all spectacle, but it's supposed to stick in our heads, right? And that's the one that I'm probably going to remember for the longest. So
I will say, I feel like this year overall, the commercials did a better job of being more memorable than previous years. I feel like the last 5 years or so, I've just been severely disappointed by the commercials because they build up all of this hype and then most of them just fall flat. They're not as funny as the advertisers think they are. And there's nothing that I really walk away from the Super Bowl saying oh, wow, that was actually a really funny spot. But this year, there were definitely a decent amount of funny ones that, like you said, hit that sweet spot where they weren't too just over the top kind of slapsticky. I will say, though, I don't remember if we were talking about this on the podcast, but I remember at some point the three of us were talking about the death of Mr. Peanut. And I had predicted that they would bring him back as a baby peanut. I didn't realize that they would phrase it as baby nut because that just is such bad wording. Why would you call it that? But they definitely hopped on the baby character train. And I mean, it was cute, but
for sure.
His voice is the same though.
Yeah, Baby Yoda is still cuter. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Peanut.
We're not mentioning there were, of course, a bunch of TV spots and movie spots that we don't have time to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Marvel spot after the break. But there were also a bunch of commercials that, like, I thought, like, Maisie Williams singing Let It Go, I wasn't that into.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's hard because there's so many commercials. Like, I'm scrolling through this list. There's so many, and there's also a bunch of serious ones that were well done, but they're not as interesting to talk about. So if you didn't watch the Super Bowl, you should go take a look at all these commercials because there was a lot of, I mean, you're being advertised to, so if you aren't a fan of that, you're not going to like it, but there's a lot of work being done and a lot of creativity on display, and there's parts of it that are really, really great. So yeah, we're going to talk when we get back about the Marvel TV spot, which was only 30 seconds long, but there was a lot to kind of digest. But before we do that, and before we go to the break, I do want to shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Ben Jackness, who, as you all know by now if you listen to this show, has been supporting us at the night level for some time now. That's the highest of our 3 levels on Patreon. And as a night level supporter, Ben gets the producer shout out every episode. He gets input into our game segment. And of course, he also gets access to our monthly secret segment and vlog. If you aren't as cool as Ben, which is fair because he's pretty cool, you can also support us at the second level of support, which is the Squire level, and that gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. And if you're not even as cool as the Squire, that's okay. You're probably still pretty cool. And you can support us at the page level, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. So if you're interested in supporting what we do, we would appreciate that, and we would direct you to our Patreon page at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. So now we will swing it over to some of our friends for a little shout out, and then we'll be right back to talk about the Disney Plus TV spot.
Hey there, everybody. Seth Heasley here from the Hugo's There podcast. Every month on the podcast, I have on a guest, and we discuss their choice of the winners of the Hugo Award for Best Novel. So if you're interested in nerdy books and nerds discussing books, head over to hugospodcast.com or search for Hugo's There anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you so much.
All right, so before we move into what we've been up to in the past week, besides, of course, watching the Super Bowl and absorbing all of the content there, we need to talk about this Disney Plus TV spot, which was only, I think, 30 seconds long, and it was teasing 3 of Marvel's big shows that are coming. There was, of course, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which we've been hearing about for a while, WandaVision, which we knew about, but we haven't seen a whole lot, and then Loki. And I think we should start with Loki because there was literally like one shot in this 30 seconds that was Loki related, and it's him looking like he's in some kind of jail cell. I don't even remember what he said. It was something mischievous, just like one sentence, but he's wearing a specific shirt. Did either of you notice this?
No,
I did not.
It's a shirt that has the letters TVA on it, and TVA, for those that do not know, stands for Time Variance Authority, which is a fictional organization in Marvel Comics that is basically responsible for monitoring the multiverse. So, as if we didn't know this before, they're kind of delving into this whole multiverse thing head first, really, and they were doing a similar thing with Spider-Man after Endgame. So that, again, not a whole lot to parse with Loki, but clearly it's going to involve what happens in Endgame, where he takes the Tesseract and goes away, and all kinds of things are bound to happen after that. WandaVision, though, we should talk more about. What was your guys' read on this? First of all, did you see this spot?
I did.
I didn't really. It didn't seem like something that would hook me, honestly. It seems too gimmicky, and I feel like for my own personal taste, I'm not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, like I actually really like the type of show. Like I like that old school sitcom-y thing, like the Lucy and Desi kind of interaction in TV shows.
Like a multicam, like a sitcom. That's what it's like a sitcom with a twist, though, right? Like it's hard, even with the visuals that they showed, which were a lot of very quick. She's a housewife, and like, Vision's still alive, and she's pregnant at one point.
I don't understand why they're doing it. Like, I feel like there's so much that you could do with her character that's not this. And it just feels like super force-fed because they're trying to diversify what they're doing with the Marvel universe. And I don't necessarily think I like it. Like, I'll probably end up watching it just because I'm a sheep and I'll watch it because it's Marvel and I'll just watch it. But I don't know. Like I kind of have to put faith in Disney at this point to not screw it up. But it looked a little too weird for me. Like they're shoehorning in these superhero characters, and I don't think it fits this TV show. Maybe I could be proven wrong and it'll end up being great, but I don't know. It's weird.
The one thing that might be cool about it, because it is kind of a fantasy universe, is we may see the return of Quicksilver in it, and that might be something to look forward to.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity for returning characters, and we'll get to that too with Falcon and the Winter Soldier when we talk about that. But to stick with WandaVision for a second, it's just, even in this brief set of shots that we saw in this spot, it's so tonally confusing, right? We still don't really know a whole lot about what it is, and if it is going to be this like you said, like Lucy and Desi kind of sitcom thing, it doesn't make sense for the grief vehicle that it's ultimately going to be no matter what, right? Because Vision is gone and Wanda ostensibly loved him, and she's going to be dealing with that, and apparently in a way that involves creating this fantasy world where he's still alive and they live in the 50s ? So I don't know what to make of that exactly. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was more concrete. You know, obviously we see Falcon throwing the shield. We see him and Winter Soldier looking grim, looking very grim. Watch the stuff's going on. But the big thing for me was we see Baron Zemo come back. Which, if you don't remember who he was, I believe the last time we saw him was Civil War. He's basically the guy that tries to turn the Avengers on each other, creates Team Cap and Team Iron Man, and at the end he tries to kill himself, but Black Panther stops him. And so he's still alive and he's still out there, presumably. So I'm curious to see what happens with that show. I've heard that if you look at certain elements visually in that part of the trailer, you can see things like U.S. Agent popping up, which I guess is another version of Captain America, ? I don't really know.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories of what the storyline is going to be. Mainly, the leading theory is that the U.S. government's not going to want Falcon to be the new Captain America, and they're going to want this alternate guy. And the big plot twisty thing is, in the end, he's finally going to get the position that he rightfully deserves.
Yeah, I just Googled U.S. Agent. He apparently the character was eventually redesigned as a new incarnation of Captain America. So yeah, that may be a tension point in the show, is, like you said, will Falcon actually become Captain America? I would presume that he will be, but I guess it kind of depends on how into it Anthony Mackie is.
I want to say I was reading a report somewhere that Anthony Mackie said that him portraying Captain America was like one of the biggest honors of his life, and he thought it was like a super big responsibility that he was ready to take on. So I feel like they're going to do that, like a runaround thing to kind of milk a TV show, but at the very end of the first season, like, he's definitely going to be Captain America, I have a feeling.
I'm looking forward to seeing, another undercurrent I would imagine would be that Bucky is like, why can't I be the Winter Soldier? Like, I was Winter Soldier's best friend. I got a metal arm. Like, it would be great. So there might be like a jealousy thing there. And then, as it is, Falcon and Winter Soldier have this very comedic, I should say, but also very like a very push and pull relationship throughout the movies in which they star together. So I'm curious to see how that develops. If it becomes a camaraderie like Falcon and Captain America, or if it continues to kind of roil beneath the surface. So I don't know. The spot I don't think really said when the shows are coming. I believe Captain America or Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think that got delayed recently.
I think so. I think WandaVision was confirmed for 2020 though, right? At some point, I want to say it was.
Falcon and Winter Soldier will be this fall. WandaVision is coming out this year. But Loki is 2021, is what I'm reading here on CNET. So this stuff is all coming. I would imagine with Mandalorian on a break, Disney Plus has to be pushing to get more shows like that out, given the phenomenon that ultimately wound up being. So we should see some great content in the next 6 months or so, it sounds like. So be on the lookout for that. We are going to move now into one of the later segments of the show, which is where we talk about what we've been up to. And we'll start with Techtic. today? Techtic.
Okay. So the main thing that I did this last week was I watched a movie called Dark Waters. And a lot of the movies I've been watching lately have been more on the serious end of things.
Mark Ruffalo, right?
Yeah, this was a quite well put together movie starring Mark Ruffalo. And it was about the DuPont conspiracy that happened roughly 5 years ago, but started even beyond that. It was basically a 15-year-long venture about the company DuPont poisoning the waters and basically exposing a town of like 70,000 people with various chemicals, and they were all getting cancer, and there was this massive lawsuit. And the summary of it is you will be terrified of your current cookware, anything that's Teflon coated, and you will probably move to ceramic cookware, because at the end of the movie they said that 99% of all living creatures on this planet have this chemical that is released from Teflon when it's heated to a high temperature in their bloodstream, because the body cannot naturally break it down. So that's terrifying.
Terrifying. So are you moving to ceramic cookware? Can you confirm that for our listeners?
We have put ceramic cookware on our wedding registry.
Yeah, we literally did not have ceramic cookware on there. And then after watching the movie, within like 10 minutes, we had done research and swapped which cookware we put on our registry.
I just remember the trailer for that movie where Mark Ruffalo's like, how bad is it to drink this water? And that one guy's like, it's like drinking a tire. You remember that part?
Yeah.
It's in the movie, I would assume. But
the movie was done really, really well. It's kind of shocking how long this case took in real life.
It's shocking how recent it was. I didn't realize that this was happening literally within like the last 5 years.
Yeah, this spanned from basically late 90s to 2015.
And where did this happen? Primarily, I know it happened.
I think it was West Virginia.
Yikes. Replace your Teflon cookware? ? I guess that's our message for today, at least as far as Techtic is concerned.
Don't worry, we're not like throwing them all out today. We're gonna cook with our Teflon coated until we get the new stuff.
Well, that's good, because I was worried. That was a bit of a downer. Nerdbomber, you want to pick us up a little bit?
Okay, so I have two things that I kind of want to touch on that I've been doing. So one was that I read The Next Person You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. If you guys are not familiar with his work, it's kind of hard to not be. He wrote The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, and this is one of the sequels to the book that he finally wrote. And I felt obligated to read it because I had read the first book, and I feel like it was a cultural phenomenon when it came out, and I, like I said, just felt obligated to read it when I saw it at the library. It's just okay. Like, it was more of the same. I guess I don't really fall into the category of people who super enjoy these types of books. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I'm getting preached at the entire time, so I don't find these type of books very enjoyable, and they're very like tear jerky, and it's very obvious that they're pulling on your heartstrings, and I just don't like it. So like it was a well-written book. The story was good. It's just not my cup of tea, but if it is your cup of tea, then you'll be happy to know that it's out there in the world and you can read it. The other thing that I have been doing is watching Digimon Tri. So after we talked about Digimon on our show 2 episodes ago, we were kind of interested. We looked up that there's actually a continuation of the Digimon adventure story in a 6-part movie series called Digimon Tri. So we've watched the first movie in the series so far, and it's basically, they're not totally grown up yet. That movie is obviously coming out in 2020 later this year. But these 6 movies kind of span, I want to say they're like in early high school at the time, and it just kind of follows like what happens. They reconnect with their Digimon, a new adventure occurs, there's Digimon coming to Earth. So the first movie, I would say it started out a little bit slow. They had to build the backstory back up a little bit because you're away from these characters for so long, but they brought back a lot of the original voice actors, which was really cool because, I mean, the voices are super iconic. I feel like Ty and Izzy, you hear those voices and it's like a blast from the past. And overall, like, I'm excited to get into the rest of the Digimon Tri movie series. because they set up the story, and I feel like there's more to dig into. So I'm excited to kind of hit the ground running with the second one, which I think we'll probably be watching sometime in the next week or so. So yeah, it's been fun.
I definitely recommend watching it in a group of friends, because adding commentary to some of the cheesy moments in the film makes it so much better.
I know exactly what you mean. Not with that movie specifically, but I've done that. There's certain movies that are just really great for that. To go back to Nerdbomber, what you said about the 5 people you meet in heaven, or I guess you said the next person is the one that you read. Mm-hmm. I read the 5 people you meet in heaven, and pretty much I can confirm your exact experience of like, it was good. I felt very preached to, which I didn't care for. And it's very emotionally manipulative.
Yeah, like the message in the book is fine. Like the message is actually really nice. Like you're supposed to appreciate what you have and like make connections with people and don't be too hard on yourself and enjoy your life, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's just
blah, blah, blah.
It's so overt. Like they don't even try to like mask it. It's literally like they're talking to the people that they meet. And it's basically like, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. And you're like, okay, wow. You basically just slapped me across the face with that. Like you didn't even try to like hide it.
Face.
Yeah.
Huh.
So. Like, it wasn't a bad book. It's just not my cup of tea. If I gave it a star rating, it'd probably be, like, right in the middle, like 3 out of 5.
Well, there you go, listeners. If you think that is your cup of tea, what is it called? The Next Person You Meet in Heaven? Mm-hmm. Because he's done 2 sequels, right? Wasn't there a 6th person you meet in heaven? Or something?
Think so. So this is another sequel.
In any case, as for me, there's 2 things I want to mention. I already told the 2 of you, I finished Metroid Prime 1. I 100%ed it, which is the first time I've ever done that, in just over 9 hours, which you see speedruns of these things in like 2.5 or something, so it's not like impressive or anything, but it's the fastest I've ever done it. I died once, and I had to look up where one of the missile expansions was. So as I dig into Metroid Prime 2, I'm making a deal with myself to never die, first of all, and to not look anything up. And if that results in me not getting 100%, that's okay. I can sleep at night, or I can try. I love those games so much. I don't really have much more of an update than that. If you haven't played them, and if you have the ability to, you might be able to emulate it with like Dolphin, but I have a GameCube, and it's just been a fantastic experience. My girlfriend's in the background saying, "What are you playing? Why are you playing it on a potato?" But I don't care.
It's a nice purple potato, though.
And actually, the one you guys got me is silver.
Is it? I can't remember.
It is, but as far as GameCube games go, it's graphically like one of the best looking GameCube games there is. So yes, you can tell it's on a potato, but it's like a very, very polished potato, I would say.
Well scrubbed.
Well scrubbed. So I've been into that. And then the other thing I want to mention, and I don't think I've mentioned it on a past podcast, but so for Christmas, I actually got a book called, well, it's even what it's called is interesting. Technically, I think it's just called S, the letter S. But what it is it's a book. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten into this. It's really hard to explain. It's like a combination between a book and an escape room, because you buy it and it's an old library book called Ship of Theseus. But inside, there are a bunch of like inserts of like people put papers in there, and in the margins there's people writing back and forth to each other, essentially trying to solve a mystery and decode certain parts of the book.
I feel like I've heard of this book.
It's actually it's co-written by J.J. Abrams.
That's why. Okay, yes, I've heard of this book because I tried to read it, I think, as an ebook, and it doesn't translate well to ebook.
Oh, I can't imagine it would. There's absolutely no way it would. It's super well produced, and it's super interesting. My complaint with it right now is that you take for granted when you're reading a book the linearity of sitting down and reading it, and when the way this book is structured, you will read a page of the book and then you'll see that there are a bunch of footnotes and little conversations that are happening in the margins that are related to what you just read, and then you have to go read those. And then you turn the page and, a piece of paper fell out and there's something written on it that's related to another piece of this mystery. And so it's very you're collecting clues, and it's at times very disjointed. There's different timelines. There's these 2 characters writing back and forth to each other in the margins, but they also occasionally will write in different...
pieces of paper actually fall out though?
Yeah, it all comes in a slip cover, and when you take as you're flipping through it, there are certain things placed in certain pages, again, in a strategic way, so that you're kind of, as you read it, you're uncovering certain parts of this mystery. But there's different time, like there's these characters write back and forth to each other in the margins, and they occasionally write in different color inks, which indicates that they're writing certain things years later. So it's just like, it's a lot of threads to keep track of, and it's super well done. I know that where it's going is going to be super satisfying, but it's also not the kind of book that you can sit down and, like, I sit down and I read 20 or 30 pages of it, and I'm much more like exhausted literary wise than I would be if I sat down and read 20 to 30 pages of a regular book. So it's a very unique experience. That's one thing I can say about it, and I'll probably talk about it on future episodes as well, just because it's of how engrossing it is. But I also don't want to give anything away, so I'll move on for now to the Fantasy Movie League. Give an update on that before we get into our game for the week. Hipster Pop Geek, congratulations. Coming in first place this week with 73 million. A far cry from second place. Mecha Yoda had 55 million, so a decent chunk of change for Hipster Pop Geek. Ben Checkness, our good friend, at number 3 with 53. Spitfire at number 4 with 52.5. Nerdbomber, number 5 with 51.5. Techtic at number 6 with 48. Secret Asian Man with 44. Devin Reed with 37. Florida Hawk with 34. And then I managed to come in 10th, but I'm not even going to say what my number was because it's under 1 million, guys. I didn't set my lineup again. I've been cajoled by people who will remain nameless, and rightfully so. So I will be setting a lineup this week. So y'all better watch out. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to be coming back with a vengeance. Looking at the overall, Hipster Pop Geek in first place
has dethroned
now.
Me.
You've been dethroned, Techtic, after that fantastic week by Hipster Pop Geek at 491 million total. Techtic at 473. So Hipster Pop Geek's got a leg up on you now. You're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to claw your way back to first place. You each both have two wins under your belts. So it's gonna be a fierce battle, I think, as we go for the next 5 weeks. Nerdbomber in third place at 444 million. Florida Hawk with 421, and Devin Reed rounding out the top 5 at 413. If you want to join us in the Fantasy Movie League and pick a Cineplex every week and try and make more money than everyone else, you can head on over to fantasymovieleague.com, look for the League Online Warriors podcast, which is a locked league, but the password is podcast all lowercase. We're about halfway through what I think is our 4th season or our 5th season now. So there's 5 weeks to go for you to get in, get a feel for how it works, and then you can really hit the ground running when we start season 5 or 6, whatever the next season is, and kick our butts and get your name read on the air. So head on over and check that out if it sounds like your cup of tea. Techtic, I believe you are in charge of creating a game that I will lose today.
Okay, so the way I'm going to be running this game is, depending on what the type of question is, it'll either be you have the answer right or you have it wrong, or it'll be Price is Right rules. And I will let you know each question what the format is prior to asking it.
Keeping us on our toes. I respect it.
And the topic of today's quiz is traditional playing card deck questions. Okay. So
fantastic. Let's do it.
For the first one, how many one-eyed jacks are in a deck? This is a correct or incorrect type question.
Who gets to go first on this one?
Whichever gives you the advantage. Does me going first give you an advantage? I'll go first. I'm going to say that there are 2.
Shoot.
I mean, you can still say 2. Yeah. We can still both be correct or incorrect.
I was also going to say 2 because I'm almost positive I actually know this. I took an art class once. I'll give you some background on this. I took an art class once and we had to design the, what are they called? The royal... What are those cards called? Where they're all like the guys, the people.
Face cards?
Yes, thank you. The face cards. We had to draw face cards. Yeah. I was like, what are they called? Yeah, we had to draw all of the face cards in a deck, and you had to research them before you could do that. And I'm almost positive
it the 2 black ones that are the one-eyed jacks, or is it
we don't even know if you're correct yet, guys.
Techtic will tell us. Techtic, tell us.
So the answer is 2. The Jack of Spades and the Jack of Hearts are facing sideways. So one red and one black.
Interesting. Well, we both got it right. So this is already the best I've done on the past 5 quizzes.
Okay.
I'm still in the game.
So the next question is Price is Right style. It is a year-based answer. And so if you answer a number too late, that is a bust.
Okay, sweet.
When was the Joker card added in the United States specifically?
Oh, boy.
This is so hard. This is so hard.
I mean, playing cards have been around forever, right? I mean, I'm trying to think. Were they back in colonial days? I don't know. I'm gonna just pull it out of my butt and say 1900.
Okay, I think it's earlier than that. Boy, I'm gonna play it extra safe here, and I'm gonna say 1776, the year of our Declaration of Independence.
So Nerdbomber was closer, however, she busted. The answer was 1860.
Okay.
I accept. Hey, you know what? I was playing it strategic.
I literally had no idea, so I'm
bus
fine
rules
with
are bus
this.
rules.
Yeah.
Right before the Civil War. Is that what caused the Civil War? The Joker card?
Yes.
I believe it.
Okay, so this is a either incorrect or correct type answer. Which is the only queen in the deck that faces to the right?
Nerdbomber, you go first for this one, right? Or no, do I? I do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go Alice in Wonderland. Say the Queen of Hearts.
I'm gonna go with Diamond.
Okay, so you're both wrong. It's the Queen of Spades.
Okay.
Rats.
Okay. Cool.
The Old Maid.
Okay,
Isn't that the Old Maid?
So Illeagle is still up. This next question is... I'm ignoring you, basically. This next question
that's fine.
Is Price is Right style. If you add up all of the values in a deck, with Jack being 11, Queen being 12, King being 13, and 1 for the Joker, what is the total? Obviously, aces are also 1.
So we don't really... This has to be off the cuff, can't think about it. Because we could sit here for a while and just figure this out.
I mean, you
just
can
say a number.
Show poor math skills too if you tried to figure it out.
Yeah, just say a number.
I'm going to go with 100. I don't know.
I'm gonna say 144 because that just seems like a cool number.
Illeagle gets the point again. It's 366.
What?
Gee willikers. Yeah, we're pretty bad at math.
Okay.
I don't think even if I sat there for 5 minutes,
that doesn't
never
make...
would have come up with that.
That doesn't make any sense. My brain did not work on that.
You guys were all like, yeah, we could just add them up, couldn't we? That's why I was like, okay, take as much time as you want.
Yeah, if I had a pad and paper in front of me, I probably still would have gotten that wrong. Well, I'll take the point. So now I'm up by 2 points.
This could be your week.
This could be it. This is I got to blow it here at the end to keep the streak alive. How many questions are left?
Fifth and last question.
Oh boy, you basically won this.
You basically locked it in.
Do you want to make this worth 2 points
I can make it worth 2 if you want to tie it.
Why would you want to jeopardize your first win in ever?
Well,
it feels like it's been seasons.
The listeners want something interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, they want some action. If you get it right, we'll do a tiebreaker question. Okay, and you know what? Even if I get it wrong, I asked for this. I'm okay. Whatever happens, happens. So let's do it. I'm feeling lucky.
What card is referred to as the Devil's Bedpost?
What the?
Devil's Bedpost. Oh, this is me, right? Now there's a logic behind this. I'm gonna say the 6 of clubs.
Oh boy. I do think you're right with the 6, just thinking about the structure of the card. Actually, wait, no, I disagree. I'm trying to think how these cards are structured. I'm going to go 9 of spades. I don't know.
I was just thinking 6 because 666 is the number of the beast, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was
that makes sense.
All right, so bedposts generally have 4 posts. So it's a 4 of clubs.
I was super close. Right.
I was trying to make a bed on the card with the the structure of the card. I don't know, man.
So Illeagle takes it. That was a bad last question to end on. But nice job. You have officially won.
Nerdbomber, you should be so embarrassed. How did you let this happen?
I don't know, but I had a good streak going. That means that I did not lose for a very long time. So I'll take it.
I'm gonna have to make a quiz for next week. Oh gosh, I'll start thinking now about. I'm gonna find a way to lose while administering the quiz. That's my goal for next week.
That would actually be very impressive.
It'd be a first time for the show. That's it for us for this week. As usual, we thank you all for listening, and we would encourage you to go hit us up on the social meds. We all have Twitters, and Techtic actually mentioned one of his tweets today, so we use our Twitters. Head on over to Twitter and look up @OW_Techtic, @OW_Illeagle86, and @OW_Nerdbomber to see what we be talking about. And you can also hit us up on our main show account @OnlineWarriors1. And you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you are so inclined. In the meantime, we again thank you all for listening, and we hope you have a fantastic week.
Adios.
See ya.